want you to be afraid of change. And I know that sometimes we can be so used to the way that things are that it can feel overwhelming to think about it being different. But I'm telling you, like, the more I think about this, friend, I actually see even more opportunity. And I'm going to tell you why I see more opportunity. Hey friends, I'm Rosemary Lewis, your homegirl, and I'm so excited that you are here. I do not care what it looks like on Instagram or HGTV. This whole being a realtor thing is not for the faint at heart. In 2017, I quit my job as a teacher to follow my real estate dreams and quickly found myself overwhelmed and struggling. Fast forward to today. Not only have I been recognized as one of the leaders in our industry, I have actually grown a business that I absolutely love. I don't care if you're a brand new agent trying to figure out how to get started or a veteran feeling overwhelmed and just stuck. I was just like you, and I totally get it. Many times I wish there was someone that I could just talk to about all the challenges I was facing. And that is why I created this space just for you. Like best friends do, I'm giving you all the tea related to navigating and thriving in these real estate streets. If I can do it, guess what? That's proof that you can too. Everything's better with friends, so let's succeed together. Welcome to the Real Estate Bestie Podcast. Hey, bestie. Welcome to episode number 174, where we're going to talk about, baby, are you ready for the change? So, full disclosure, okay? So I am sitting in my closet and this topic is so just top of mind for me. I literally am sitting in my closet. I have a flight to catch in about 8 hours. And in true Rosemary, your bestie fashion, I haven't packed yet. Okay, I am going to pack, okay, for the vacation with my husband. But first, I had to get this out because things are changing and I just want to make sure, bestie, that you are ready for the change. So you already know, do all the stuff. Share this podcast with your real life real estate bestie because I'm about to be dramatic. Dun, 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 dun. August 17th is coming. Well, actually, a lot of the changes for August 17th are already here. But guess what? Some of the changes are changing. And I just want to share with you what I know so far so that you can prepare for it. And we're going to talk through best practice. So first, let me back up just a little bit, okay? Because I don't want to get ahead of myself. If you have been, living under a rock or on crack rock, I don't know what you're doing if you don't know about all the stuff that's happening in the news. But what is happening, friend, no, seriously, I know you're not on crack rock. What's happening, friend, is that the lawsuits which changed the way we were used to seeing buyer agent commission advertised in our MLS is officially going away. And for a lot of our MLSs, it has already gone away as of August 17th. As a result of these changes, there are a lot of states, pretty much every state has had to really figure out, okay, what are the documents? What are the addenda? What does it look like for disclosure to just get ready and to be in preparation for these changes? I myself have taken several classes through our board. I'm in Texas, by the way, because I know sometimes y'all like, where you at, bestie? I am in Dallas, Texas. Well, actually a North Dallas suburb. Send your referrals. If you got people moving here, I have a whole team that can service them. But our forms changed. I believe the date was June 24th was the day that our forms changed. And I honestly thought that the changes that were made were very explicit, and the way that the forms were in or are in Texas, because they haven't changed again, but the way they are in Texas, it's always been on both our listing agreement and our buyer agency. It's been very explicit on who pays what, and that part of the listing broker's fee, the seller would agree to what a part would go to a buyer broker. Well, the way that they changed our documentation, our addenda over the last month was pretty much, it just spelled it out even clearer to me. But there was a box, there is a box to check to say, hey, the seller is going to compensate a certain percentage to the listing broker, and part of that can be shared, and you really write in what part can be shared. And then there was a separate box, a separate section that said, okay, the seller is willing to compensate this amount to their listing agent, and a part of the listing agreement had nothing to do with another broker compensation, right? Then there was fine print that said, hey, seller, no matter which box you check, just know that a buyer still may choose to present an offer requesting additional concessions towards closing, including concessions that might cover their agent commission. Like, I thought they did a really good job of splitting it out. Well, let me tell you what happened. So I was in a training all week. I had an opportunity to speak at an event. And it was an event presented by our brokerage. I'm with eXp Realty. For those of you who don't know, it is one of the larger big boy brokerages, right? And at this training, I found out that as a precautionary measure to stay out of litigation, since a big part of the lawsuits it really was broker to broker compensation, our brokerage has decided not to participate in broker to broker compensation. Okay. And I'm looking at the different Facebook groups. I think that I read that California is no longer participating in broker to broker compensation. And I'm just telling you that the change is probably coming where more and more companies are going to follow suit so that they are not liable to all of the being sued and the fines and all that. Well, what does it mean for you, right? Because originally what we thought was, okay, nothing's changing except I can't publish it in the MLS, right? I have to be clear on my addenda. I can't publish what a seller is willing to contribute. But if someone calls me, I can say, hey, yeah, my seller's going to pay X percent. Well, the way I understand it is that to stay out of any messiness, for instance, what our brokerage is doing is the listing addenda. Remember, there were two boxes that you can check. The one to say, hey, I'm going to compensate you and you can split this half. Like, that box is not negotiable. And when I say not negotiable, it's a non-factor. I didn't mean to say non-negotiable. I meant to say a non-factor. It's a non-factor from our brokerage. They're like, you don't check that box. You check the second box that now says that they are paying you only, but we still need to have the conversation with our sellers that obviously buyers can ask for compensation. Okay. But what does that mean? Like, what happens if somebody calls me on one of my listings and says, hey, how much is your seller offering? Whereas before, I kind of sort of thought that I could say, oh, they're offering X percentage. The new answer is submit it with your offer, right? So pretty much buyer agent name your price and submit with your offer what you expect to be compensated, and it will be a negotiating matter. So pretty much, y'all, it's pretty much the same way as if I go show a listing. I just had a listing right now, right? One of my listings, someone said an offer was coming over. I didn't know the terms of that offer until it was in hand. And that's the thing. Like, if your client is wanting, that's the next thing. If your buyer is wanting to ask for that as a concession, then it comes over with your offer. So what I want you to do, I know, right? I know. First of all, don't get all nervous, right? But it is time for us to get informed. So the very first thing is I would be picking up the phone. If you're listening to me and all of this sounds foreign to you, you're like, wait, not participating in broker to broker compensation. What does that mean for me as a listing agent? What does that mean for me as a buyer's agent? I am going to encourage you to first get on the phone with your broker, okay? And find out exactly what's happening in your state, in your market, in your county, in your MLS. Because let me tell you what I am finding out is that this is changing almost daily, right? The way to navigate through these changes is changing. So information that you may have had a couple of weeks ago, it may not be valid today. So if you are, if you're not want to go to the office meeting or to, check if you're with a big company like I'm with, we have our own little private Facebook group thing. We have all the emails that send you. Make sure that you are paying close attention because you want to be in compliance. And I'm telling you, I took a listing today, and if I was not listening to that information yesterday, it would have affected how I took the paperwork. Okay. So I definitely want to make sure that you are getting and staying informed. Now, Let me tell you what I don't want you to do. And then we're going to talk specifically about some suggestions when you're taking a listing and when you are representing a buyer, because this looks different now. But let me tell you the first thing I don't want you to do. I don't want you to be afraid of change. And I know that sometimes we can be so used to the way that things are that it can feel overwhelming to think about it being different. But I'm telling you, like, the more I think about this, friend, I actually see even more opportunity. And I'm going to tell you why I see more opportunity. But I think about it like this. So years ago, and this is going to sound so funny, if you follow me on social media, about once a week, maybe once every 10 days at the max, I have braids right now, but you are likely going to see a post with me and my girl Muff, okay? Muff is my hairstylist, and I'm putting hair in air quotes because it ain't my hair. I am a big like unit wig wearer. And that's just who I am. Like this, I have a whole lot of natural hair under my head, but the way that my life is set up, this is just what I do. Like this is just who I am, right? But let me tell you something. Years ago, like I remember vividly, like I was one of those people in high school and college. Now, for some reason, a weave ponytail wasn't weave to me. It was like, oh, that's just a ponytail. But like actually like gluing or stitching, sewing hair into my head, like that was just the worst. I was like, ugh. And I have a cousin. I have to apologize to my cousin all the time when I see her. I gave her such a hard time about wearing weave until I tried it, right? Till I tried it. And you know what? That changed my life. It's so versatile. It's a protective style. It's just the way I like. I like to switch it up. Like I've been married 18 years. You know, sometimes I give them a little dark lady. Sometimes I give them some blonde streaks, you know. We have fun over here. But I think to myself, what if I had never been open to that change, right? Like I am just having so much fun. I have all these little units. I give them names. When I put them on, I kind of keep the same one for a while. But my point is, I was so afraid of change for that change for such a long time. And when I embraced it, it's like, oh, it opened up a whole new world for me. And that's the way I want you to think about these changes, like a new fly weave, okay? Okay, how can I switch up? Like, how can this really change the way that I do business? But I'm gonna tell you, you got to put your big girl pants on, right? You have to buckle up, because the people who are going to win in this market are going to be the ones who understand their value, can articulate their value, and stand on why, right? Like gone are the days where it's like, hey, let me just go with you and, point out cute stuff in the house and we write a contract. No, it's going to have to look different, but don't be afraid of it, right? Because there's definitely opportunity. So first, let's talk about a listing. Okay, let's talk about if you're taking a listing. So in the past, I remember before I became listing heavy, like my business right now is pretty much 60-40, my personal business. I personally, and that's probably even a lie, because most of the buyers, my team supports our buyers. But I remember before I became a listing agent and before I was primarily doing listings, when I would score a listing appointment here and there, I would be so nervous. Like the way that I approached it was so much different than meeting with a buyer. And I've always done buyer consultations. And really it's because I had to have a money conversation, right? I had to be prepared for those objections about, discounting commissions and all of these different things. And quite honestly, I kind of sort of feel like if that has been you and you've been afraid to go after listings because of that purpose or because of that reason, it's going to be easier, because 9 times out of 10, you're talking about a lower compensation than if you at your listing appointment have to negotiate the buyer's agent's commission at the same time. So I'm going to tell you, like I had a listing appointment today, right? And in my listing appointment today that I got, by the way, don't play, Luckily, like I said, I knew the new paperwork. Now I didn't throw a buyer's agent under the bus. I didn't say, oh, you absolutely, like, you don't have to pay anybody. This is all you have to pay me. But like when we got to the compensation part, it was kind of like a no-brainer. And I explained to them. The changes. I explained to the person, what our listing fee was. And then I said, my recommendation, because it is my recommendation, like just like when we're pricing your house, I'm always going to be able to show you comps. I'll be able to show you now. Before I would look and see what commission they were giving, but now you can kind of gauge it, right? If you see what concessions, an amount of concessions that are being given, then you can kind of gauge the fact that there is some commission being paid from those concessions. And I told them, like, it would be in your best interest to consider it, but a buyer's agent has to name their price, right? They have to let you know, just like the price of the house we have to consider. We can expect our offers to be accompanied with a request for compensation for buyer agent commission. It just can't come from our brokerage, right? So honestly, as a listing agent, it made the conversation about my compensation a little bit easier, but I definitely want you to be prepared to like let the sellers know, just like with pricing, right? So this is the way I look at it. Like in this market, every listing appointment that I have been going on, I have been preparing my sellers at the listing appointment. Like, hey, let me just give you a little bit of insight about the DNA of the buyers that I'm seeing in this market, right? When interest rates are 6 and 7% and homes are sitting a little bit longer, buyers are coming in a little bit more aggressive with their offers and they're looking for a deal, right? So whereas your house is comping out at this amount, and I definitely think that it'll praise out, I just want to let you know, I don't want you to think somebody is lowballing you, but the overall composition of buyers that I'm seeing, more often than not, I'm seeing a request for concessions. I'm seeing price requests. I'm seeing prices being negotiated below list price, and we're showing the data to back that up. So the same way like this, like I'm going to continue to have that conversation, but let my sellers know, hey, and you can almost expect that if a buyer is represented by a real estate agent, that part of their offer will be requesting compensation, and I will always run the numbers for you. Okay. So as a listing agent, just make sure to explain exactly like what the difference is, and also explain that buyer may be coming for compensation, right? Or ask you for concessions. Now, here's another thing that I just want to say, and this is what came out in this training. I want you to be very careful as a listing agent about answering questions like, what will a seller offer? And I'm telling you this, buyer's agents, right? For those of you who mainly represent buyers, don't get all pissy at the listing agent. Like, don't get mad when they are having conversations with you that, number one, protect the fiduciary responsibility of their seller. They have fiduciary responsibility to their seller. But then number two, like, these brokerages are tightening up, and there are just things that they are going to allow and not allow so that we don't get caught up in like more lawsuits. So for instance, hey, if you call me, I'm just let you know, hey, ring, ring, ring. Hey, Rosemary. Hi. Establish rapport. That's what you're supposed to do. Ask about the list and da, 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 da. And then when you get to the point to say, okay, just out of curiosity, is your seller offering compensation for a buyer's agent? My response will be, well, first of all, depending on what the seller has told me in the listing agreements, but let's just say they've told me in the listing agreement, because there is a box in ours where we can check where the seller gives permission for us to say that they will or they won't. I would say, yeah, you know what, they actually are. And please include any compensation requests with your offer. If you ask me to give you an exact percentage, I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. It is going to be on the buyer's agent, okay, just like it was on me as a listing agent to have that conversation and say what I charge. It's going to be on the buyer's agent to have that conversation. And if your client is directing you to include it in the offer, then you're going to have to include it in the offer, okay? So as a listing agent, I just don't want y'all to get caught up in answering questions. And again, I am not your broker. I am not your broker. I am not your broker. But what I am is your bestie. And I do not want you to be caught out here not knowing stuff. Okay. So I'm just sharing with you how I'm interpreting it. And I hope it don't change before this podcast come out. But if it does, I'll let y'all know. I might even, well, I'm not gonna take it down. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just giving you context. Okay. So let's talk about representing a buyer. Okay. So what does this look like? So pretty much the same way you pregame and prepare for that listing presentation, and you have an exact system of what happens when you are in the process of listing a home, we need to have processes in place just like this for buyers. So number one, you got to have a process when you're onboarding your buyers. You must have a buyer consultation. Be very clear on what your state and what your broker allows before you open a door for anyone. Because as I understand it, before you open a door, even at an open house, right? Just be careful. Like, even especially if you're holding an open house for, for instance, my brokerage, we cannot hold open houses for other brokerages, right? Some brokerages allow that. But if you're opening a house, if you're showcasing a home, even if you're doing a virtual showing, you are supposed to have a signed agreement from the person who may potentially buy the house. So make sure that you have a consultation process where you are getting those signed agreements, where you know how to handle these objections, and where you are able to really talk and explain to the buyer what it looks like to hire you and what you charge. Now, somebody might be listening to me and say, well, what do I charge? I can't tell you what to charge, child, because that's what got us in this mess in the beginning, right? But this is where the opportunity is, okay? This is where the opportunity is, because nothing is said. It's all negotiable. What I don't want you to do is negotiate away your greatness because you are trying to get a deal, right? You're trying to be, you're so afraid of losing money that, before, when the market looked differently, you were used to getting 1%, but now you're going to you're not even going to try for that, right? Because it's all negotiable, but it's what we negotiate. So as the buyer's agent, make sure that your clients know that they are responsible, but you get to negotiate with them your price. And this is one thing that I just want to say, right? And I think I've said this before, but I'm just going to say it again. Everyone says everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable, but that doesn't mean you have to change your number. Does that make sense to you? So and I've given this example before. If I want to go out to dinner, I don't get to negotiate with Del Frisco the cost of the steak. The steak is the cost of the steak. Now, if I don't want to pay the cost of the steak at Del Frisco, I can go to Texas Roadhouse and get a steak for a lesser price, but it's not going to be Del Frisco steak, right? So you just have to decide what your number is and make it make sense for you. Okay, make it make sense for you. So yes, it is negotiable, because what that means is that our clients can choose to work or not work with something, just like offers, right? I just got an offer on one of my listings and we chose to negotiate. We chose not to take the initial offer that we were given. We countered that offer. Okay. So I just want to bring that up. You're going to have to be able to have those conversations. Now, here's the next thing. When you are actually negotiating a price for a home, okay, so your buyer's agent, you are putting forth an offer on the behalf of your client. Make sure that your client is very clear on the numbers. And if part of the negotiations include compensation to you, the buyer's agent, I need you to, again, reach out to your board and be very clear that you know what addenda is accompanying that, because in the state of Texas, that doesn't go on a contract, right? It's technically supposed to go on a different form. So I want you to make sure you understand what form that is supposed to go on. Okay. And make sure that you get all of those things signed off during the offer process. The worst thing that you can do, right, is even have a verbal, just like with our clients, if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. Do not go through the trouble of writing an offer, doing all these things and not protecting your bag. Okay. So make sure you have all of that addenda in place to ensure that you are going to get paid. Okay. Okay, I hope this is helpful. And again, this is ever changing, but this is the information that I am getting right now. And then here's one other thing. I'm gonna tell y'all two more things I want you to think about as a buyer's agent. Right now, I want you to start collecting your success stories and making sure that you're writing them down, making sure that you are coaching your clients on how to do reviews pointing to your success. And I'm going to give you a great example. So I have a buyer clients right now, and we have a home that they were looking at, and the home was listed for $675,000. Okay. So the home was listed for $675,000. I ran numbers. I did not it could appraise out for 675, and my buyers were paying cash. So if I told them that it was 675, they would have just said, "Cool, we're gonna do 675." But I was like, you know what? I really think I'm assessing the whole situation. I think that we could go in less because of the way market is, right? So whereas the appraisal is there, I definitely just think that there should be some flexibility in pricing. There just weren't as many comps recently that supported that price. And long story short, I got the house under contract for $650,000. Okay. Fast forward to our negotiating process with the repair amendment, I was able to negotiate another $10,000 plus about $8,000 worth of repairs. So I'm going to remember that, right? Like, I'm going to keep this address. I'm going to keep a picture of this house. I'm going to remember that, okay, I negotiated a total of $35,000 off of that list price plus another $8,000 in repairs. And I was like a pit bull in a skirt, respectful, but just very firm on these things with the listing agent. So quite honestly, my clients saved over $40-some thousand because of how I represented them in this transaction. I'm going to remember this story so that I can tell other buyers about it. When people talk about asserting your value, I'm going to talk about that. And then when my clients leave a review, I'm going to get a video review. I'm going to make sure, hey, and talk about how we negotiated the list price down, right? Talk about how I was adamant about this repair amendment and the amount that we were going to be willing to take, because they are going to be the best people for me to tell that story. Okay. So I want you to start collecting your stories. Like, who did you have that had horrible credit, right? And you stood beside them for a year and helped them build up their credit, and now they're the first homeowners in their family. Who was it that and it could be the reverse, right? I've had people that I've been able to negotiate them a deal and they ended up paying above list price, right? But they got the house of their dreams, and now they having baby showers in that house, right? And they remember me forever. So start collecting your value stories, because now more than ever, it's going to be important to have them as we are asserting our value and just really having conversations with potential clients. And then here's the last thing I'm going to say. Okay. I think I said this, but I'm going to say it again. Don't be mad at the listing agent. Just don't. Because it's not, I've seen people online like, listing agents are just greedy and they just this and they just that. If you have a real estate license, you have the ability to go out here and get listings. I probably need to bring it back. We did a masterclass before, List More, in 2024. I'm thinking we probably need to bring that masterclass back to truly teach you all how to go out here and get more listings, because it's true. You list, you last. I love working with buyers though, especially in this market. If you have a solid, ready buyer, they're going to be able to get something. We're going to be able to negotiate some terms that are favorable. But come a couple of weeks, we're going to have to make sure that they understand what it really looks like to hire you. So don't get mad at the listing agent. Don't get mad at NAR. You can get mad at the attorneys though that brought the lawsuit. You can get mad at them. I mean, I don't know if it's going to really help. But the thing is that change is here. So we can either gripe about it or we can get gritty with it, right? We can get gritty with it and make it work for us. And that's what I want you to do. And speaking of working for you, listen, there are a few habits. Most times when I meet real estate agents, y'all have one goal, like get me to 6 figures and get me there quickly. And I'm telling you, I was just at this training and we talked about getting to 100,000, 200, 300,000 a year. It's a lot easier than what you think it would be. And I have a tool to help you get there. So head on over to rosemarylewis.com/6. You will get my free ebook, 6 Steps to Multiple Six Figures, or your first 6 figures, whatever you need to do. And I promise you, you dig your heels in, you follow these steps, and you're going to come back like y'all going to be testifying on the podcast. Like, oh, I did exactly what they said do, or Rosemary said do. And here I am. So listen, be prepared. Are you ready for change? Yes, you are. Take these hints, educate yourself, have these conversations with your broker, practice how you're going to have these conversations with your potential buyers and sellers. And you know what? I cannot wait to see you at the top. That sounded real deep, but for real, y'all, we got this. Like, don't stress. Like, the worst thing you can do right now is stress. Everything is figure outable. We are figuring this thing out together, and we're going to do this, bestie, okay? No bestie left behind. No bestie left behind. Love you. Talk to you next week. If you enjoyed this episode and you have a real life bestie that you think it would resonate with, y'all, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that share button, because you know what? We are better together. Make sure you share the podcast, and I appreciate your reviews. I appreciate you giving me 5 stars more than you know. I'll talk to you next week.